Hi there, it's David Kessler, and we're going to be talking about Thanksgiving and the holidays, because the holidays, they are here again. So I want to give some helpful tips, and we've gotten, many questions that people always ask about the holidays that I want to go over. So I'm looking forward to that. I'll give everyone just a few moments to tune in, and as always, say hello, let me know where you're from. And this video is live now and will be available for replay. I'm here from Legacy.com as well as from grief.com. So I'm so glad you're watching this and joining us. And we're going to be talking about the days leading up to Thanksgiving, which we're already in, the day itself, Thanksgiving, as well as the days after Thanksgiving. So it's going to be an important Facebook Live and video, so I'm really glad you're here and watching, whether it's live or later. So let's begin to talk about Thanksgiving. So first of all, there's so much pressure just to have this amazing family, fun-filled Thanksgiving. And the reality is, you may be dealing with grief. My guess is if you're watching this, you are dealing with grief. And grief is about the love and the loss of a loved one. And that's essentially what you're dealing with. You're dealing with such a huge loss. And first of all, I would love people to release the pressure of having an amazing Thanksgiving. First of all, I always remind people, it's a made-up holiday. It's literally about a day that we kind of took the country away from a lot of people. And so it has gone from this lunch dinner that we had with Native Americans to this time that there has to be wonderful togetherness, even if that person that you want to be together with isn't here. So let's talk about the realities of this. And everywhere you go, it's the messages of Thanksgiving is about togetherness and being with people you love. And I say, if you are in early grief, and early grief to me is the first 2 years. If you're in early grief, just know it's going to be really challenging. I want you to just have the expectation. Because many times we have the expectation that it's just going to be fine as usual, and it's not. So that's why I'm doing this video. Any questions you have, please send them in. I have a few. That's kind of what I developed this little bit of talk I'm going to give you around questions that have come in before. So one of the things to recognize is as we talk about Thanksgiving is about togetherness. Let's acknowledge the reality that the one you want to be together with is probably not here anymore. And how devastating that is. And that just know we see that. And you are not alone. You know, there's lots of resources to connect with others on Thanksgiving, whether it's your in-person groups or Legacy.com's groups or many other groups. But you can connect with other people who will know this is a really tough time for you. And besides that loss of the one person you wanted to be with, we also have secondary losses. Secondary losses is that you always went home to the house you grew up in, or you always had Thanksgiving a certain way in a certain place. And not only is that person gone, but the place where you went, the people who used to gather have now changed. You also may have secondary losses of estrangement. The family's not the same. There's different issues. So when I think about coping with the holidays, I think about 3 different areas: the lead up to Thanksgiving, the day of Thanksgiving, and the days after Thanksgiving. So I want to give you some tips for all of those. First of all, the lead up. People are going to want to know what you're doing. And you're going to maybe even have feelings or get them from other people that there's things you should be. You should be with family. You should be doing this. Please let go of the shoulds. You don't have to do anything that you don't want to. You've had a major loss. So release that pressure from yourself that you have to have this certain day. You go and do what feels right to you. Even if that's being home and alone, you get to do Thanksgiving your way. And death has changed Thanksgiving forever. That's just a reality. And it's not going to be the same. And people around you are going to try to make it the same. Maybe it's different that your parents are gone and now you're supposed to be the one that does Thanksgiving because someone died and you've got that pressure. So there's a lot of different things that are going to come up to the lead up of how you're going to do Thanksgiving. And one of the things people tell me that's so hard is they will be getting asked, "What's your plans? What are you doing for Thanksgiving?" And people find that question so challenging. And just know, it's small talk. People who work in stores are even taught to ask about, "What's your Thanksgiving plans?" That's the small talk. And you're going to feel put on the spot because, of course, for you, it's going to trigger, my loved one is gone and I'm not having Thanksgiving the way I want. Some short things you can say to the question of, what are you doing for the holidays? What are you doing for Thanksgiving? You can just say, I'm with friends. I'm with family. Or if you want to be a little more honest, you can say, I'm figuring it out. Or sometimes if people are going to be alone, they'll go, oh, it's going to be a small, intimate get-together. You don't have to tell them it's going to be just you. But it's just a small, intimate get-together I'm going to be doing for Thanksgiving. The other thing is, you can just be real and you can just say, I'm taking this Thanksgiving off. I've had a death and I'm just taking this Thanksgiving off. Now just know the reality. If you say that to people, they're going to go, oh no, you have nowhere to go. How sad. And at that point, you might just go, thanks for the invite, but I'm actually doing it the way I want to. And you just got to know you can give yourself permission to cancel the holiday if that's what feels best to your soul. Many people get so much comfort out of the rituals of Thanksgiving and the family. So please go with that if that gives you such comfort. And if it doesn't, you do not have to force yourself to do things you don't want to. And when people ask you that question, small, intimate get-together, thanks for asking. What are you doing? So then when we talk about during the holidays, what are you going to do during the holidays? So I always say you want to honor your feelings in grief, whatever they may be. So many times we might have a get-together we're going to. So if you do have a get-together you're going to, I always say give grief a little time first thing in the morning. That might be going to the cemetery first thing in the morning. It might be taking a walk in honor of your loved one. It might be lighting a candle or sitting and thinking about them before you go to the Thanksgiving get-together. So just know, make time for your grief first. If you did cancel Thanksgiving and you're not doing it the way you're used to, you can watch one of their favorite movies or you can go out to the movies. Thanksgiving is always a big movie day, so you can go out to the movies. Just know, especially if you're in early grief in those first couple of years, many times when you're dealing with loss, you don't want to see a comedy. So think about what dramas are out. Because people in grief have reported to me over the years that it feels better actually watching a drama than a comedy. If you are going to a get-together or you're having a get-together at your place, light a candle there in your honor. You can have everyone at the Thanksgiving table share a favorite story about the person who died. Maybe you're going to a get-together where people don't know your loved one who died. Bring their favorite recipe. Bring a dish that they love, something that you know you can reflect on them and how much they love that dish or that favorite food. The other thing is people many times will go, oh, I'm going to volunteer that day. Just know, many times places that have volunteers will fill up fairly early. So please be aware of that. You might have trouble getting into a place at this point, but think about that. The other thing, as I mentioned, if you're not going to go to a get-together, You can binge Netflix, you can binge Amazon, you can watch TV, you can watch the parade. You do whatever feels right to you. And one of the things we have to be aware of is a bit of our inner critic. Our bit of our inner critic, if we decide to stay alone, is going to go, oh, you're alone, poor you, pity you. And we don't want pity, and we're not pathetic. We're in grief, and grief deserves kindness and compassion. So if you're choosing to be alone, do not let that inner critic be mean to you. You're doing this for your soul, for yourself. Now, if you do go to an event, have an exit strategy. Sometimes I say set expectations. You might walk in and say, oh, I have some other places to go, so I may not be here the whole time. Other places to go might be the cemetery, might be home, might be anywhere you want. But let the host know you might not be there for the duration, and have that exit strategy. When you feel it's time to go, you got a text, you got something, and you have to go. The other thing that people tell me comes up at Thanksgiving a lot that I just want you to be aware of is gratitude. And you might not be in a grateful place with your loved one dying. Many of you know that I've worked for years with people in grief. I'm also a bereaved parent. It is hard when you're dealing with loss to find gratitude, especially early on. So some things you want to think about when people say, let's all go around the dinner table and be grateful. You don't have to be anything you're not. And when it comes to you at the table to say what you're grateful for, of course, if you honestly can go, I feel grateful for the time I had with our loved one. That's wonderful. I'm grateful for the 20 years I had with them. I'm grateful for the 40 years I had with my husband or wife or child or brother. But you can also say when it comes your turn, I'll pass. Or you can just say, it's really hard to find gratitude this early in my loss. And then you become a teacher for others. The other thing is you just have to honor where you are. Don't feel like you have to put a facade on for other people. Because we're the teachers. When we're in grief, we're the teachers. And we don't want to teach people you have to be phony in grief. If your loved ones died and you're missing them, it is going to be challenging. So you can let that be. Now let's talk about after the holidays. What's it like after the holidays? When we're dealing with after the holidays, just know the reality is you're going to see everyone's amazing pictures on Instagram and Facebook. I can remember one time I saw someone's pictures and they had this great smiling around the table. And then I ran into them and I said, wow, it looked like you had a great Thanksgiving. And they said, it was hideous. We smiled for that picture, but that was it. Just know we were fighting, we were upset. And the moment after that picture was taken, my brother left, he and his wife stormed out. So just know those happy pictures you see might just be a moment of smiles that might not be the authentic truth. So don't scroll through Instagram or Facebook the day after Thanksgiving and go, everyone had such an amazing Thanksgiving but me. Some people had amazing ones. Some people had good ones. Some people had average ones. Some people had really bad ones. Some people were in grief. And just know, no matter what they had, they're probably in a picture on social media looking like everything was fine. And also to keep in mind, after Thanksgiving, it's just not that day. You have Friday, you have the weekend. So think about, what are you going to do those days? Are you going to go to a movie? Are you going to take a walk in their honor? It's Black Friday. Do you want a big distraction? If you're looking for a big distraction, Black Friday for shopping is a big distraction. Just don't overspend, obviously. So just know in those days after Thanksgiving to think about that. And I also want you to think about in the days after Thanksgiving, The holidays aren't over. The holidays are actually just beginning. Saturday and Sunday after Thanksgiving and the week after, I want you to think about what really worked for you. What didn't? Because Christmas, Hanukkah, New Year's is coming up. What did you kind of learn from this Thanksgiving that you want to change? Maybe you realize being alone wasn't that fun. Maybe you realize being alone was the way to go. So think about, Thanksgiving is a bit of a rehearsal for the other big holidays. What do you want to do in grief? What's right for you? I'm going to give you some tips as we wrap up, but I really want to hear any questions you may have that you can ask live in just a moment, but you can go ahead and ask them live now as I'm giving you these 6 tips. So the first tip is, feel your feelings. They're not right or wrong. They are your feelings in grief. Be authentic. Don't should yourself or go, I shouldn't be feeling this. Whatever you are feeling, it's what grief looks like for you after the loss of your loved one. The second thing is, don't put pressure on yourself to be anywhere else or to be more advanced, or I should be further along. People will go, it's this year in my grief, and this year in my grief I should be done or over, or whatever it may look like. What you feel is what you feel. So don't try to make yourself further along in grief than you are. You're doing grief exactly right for you. 3, let others be themselves. Your relatives, your friends, they're going to completely be themselves. And don't be surprised at who they are. If they're usually selfish, they're probably going to still be selfish. If they're crazy, they're going to be crazy. If they're codependent, they're going to be codependent. If they say stupid things about, loss, about the holidays, they're probably going to say stupid things. So just know your loved ones are going to stay in character. It's nice if you have the expectation that they're going to be different and be a little better because you are in grief, but they might not be. 4, concentrate on who you want to be with. How do you want to spend these holidays? It might not be your biological family. It might be your friends. It might be your support group. It might be someone else in grief you're just going to go out and have a dinner with. Be with the people you want to be with. The 5th thing is just remember, you can cancel a holiday. You have my permission, everyone else's permission to cancel a holiday. It might not be true that you have other people's permission, but you got my permission to cancel the holiday if it doesn't feel right for you. And 6, just know in time, you get to recreate this holiday as you want it. And for now, it just gets to be Thursday if you want. So you get to do the holiday however you want. All right. If you're tuning in, I'm David Kessler. You probably know that by now from the intro, but I just want to take a few questions here. Sonia says, I did not expect to be so affected by this season. Is this usual? Sonia, people are always broadsided. I'm so not surprised by your question. Many times in grief, we think we're kind of doing all right, and then anniversaries hit or the holidays hit, and we find we are just thrown back into the depths of grief. Our holidays are about connection, and grief is about the loss of connection. So Sonia, it is going to be harder than you probably thought it would be. And I'm sorry you've been hit with it that hard, but just know that is normal, and that's what grief looks like. Marilyn writes, how do you do this day alone? Well, Marilyn, first of all, I actually want to applaud you if you feel like you've thought about it and being alone is the best thing for you. Because there's meetups, there's lots of ways you can just be with other people, but sometimes we realize that's not the best thing. Or maybe the reality is this season we don't have anyone to be with. So If you're going to be alone, I just want you to know you can do it. You can figure out the food ahead of time you want. Maybe that's turkey, maybe that's pizza. You can go to movies on your own. You can watch movies on your own on Netflix or Amazon. And I got to tell you, I remember one time years ago trying to figure out Thanksgiving, and I just couldn't figure it out, and I really didn't want to do anything. And I was alone for Thanksgiving, and I got to tell you, it kind of gave me a freedom that I still hold, that like, I survived Thanksgiving alone. It's actually not that big a deal. So just know you can find things to do, whether it's a walk in honor of your loved one, going to the cemetery, going to the movies, just going and taking a drive somewhere, going to the beach, going to the mountains, going to nature. Just give yourself permission to take you out that day. And it can just be another Thursday. All right, I know we have some live questions.
So Julie feels like she is sad and drowning and can't get out. And she has a two-part question.
So Julie, I just want to repeat it for everyone. Julie feels like she's sad, drowning, and just can't get out.
And she feels sick. And she wants to know, there's two questions. One, how do I survive this?
So she wants to know, how do I survive this?
And the second thing she wants to know is, how does she not break down in front of others who it will upset?
Okay, so, and how to not break down in front of others. So Julie, you are going to survive this. You are. It's going to be hard, but I have to tell you, we want to be careful about what our critical mind is telling us. If your critical mind is saying you're not going to survive this, it makes it even harder. And isn't it so hard that your loved one has died? So don't let your critical mind tell you over and over, I'm not going to survive this. The second thing is, just know that feeling of this is so hard to get through is what grief looks like. That is what grief looks like. Grief isn't supposed to be easy. And tell me the second part again, please.
How do I not break down in front of others who are upset?
How do I not break down in front of others? So there's a number of ways. First of all, we call those grief bursts. And they might also be love bursts when we feel like we fall apart. I don't like that term, falling apart, because I feel it makes grief pathological. And, it's a criticism of ourselves. We're breaking down. It's not a good thing when your car breaks down. Well, is it a good thing when you break down? My guess is what we refer to when we say breakdown is you're having emotions and you're having tears and your loved one died. So you get to have tears. And you know what? If it upsets other people, their emotions are really none of your business. If you're in grief and you're missing your loved one and you start to cry, I immediately tell everyone, don't worry everyone, these are tears, evidence of love. They're evidence of love. I don't stop crying for anyone. I've cried in front of the police. I've cried in front of audiences. I've cried in front of friends. And if they think I cry too much, their opinion really doesn't matter to me. Sometimes we find out we're people pleasers. And when people pleasers quit pleasing, people are rarely pleased. You've heard that saying. So I would give yourself permission to cry. And if you feel like you don't want to do it in others, just excuse yourself and go to the bathroom and have your cry there. Okay, next question, please. And we're going to be thinking about you, Julie.
She's got one more part of her question.
Okay, Julie has one more part, sure.
She says she can't put up a tree and the ornaments that remind her of her son who died.
Okay.
It's been only a year.
Julie, if your son died and it's only been a year, just know that's like yesterday. I would be shocked if you've put up a tree with ornaments and everything's fine. It shouldn't be fine.
But her family is, she's afraid that her family is going to be disappointed in her. So how does she explain it to others?
Julie, I really hear you're trying to please your family and honor your grief. And I want you to know you might not be able to do both. So I would say to your family, I can't put up a tree this year. If you want, you guys can come over Thursday afternoon and put the tree up, but I can't do it. and give them permission to put it up. Or you might say, if you're coming to my house this year, there won't be a tree, so just know that. But Julie, your son has died. And that's such a tragedy. And you do not have to do Christmas like you usually did. And I'll tell you, I see people who try desperately to stumble through Christmas. And if it doesn't serve them, don't do it. If the ritual serves you, then do it. And if your family wants it, then let them do all the heavy lifting around it.
Madeline wants to know.
This is Madeline, okay.
How do you interact with folks who don't want to talk about your loved ones?
How do you interact with folks who don't want to talk about your loved ones? So I always say, like when I talk about my son, you really have to deserve the story. And if you don't want to talk about my son, then either A, I might not want to be around you, or two, I'm probably going to talk to someone who does want to talk about my loss when I want to talk about it. So you have to just know people who they are. I have my friends who can go deep, and I go deep with them. I have my friends who are superficial. And you know what? Sometimes I need my superficial friends to just take me to the movies or just to help me when I need a break from my grief. But I don't expect my superficial friends to be deep, and I don't expect my deep friends to be superficial, and I don't expect the people who don't want to talk about it to talk about it. So let everyone be who they are, and if the people around you don't want to talk about it, find an in-person group. Go on Legacy.com in one of their groups. There's many online groups. Thanksgiving, they'll all be up and running online, and you can talk about what Thanksgiving's like. Post on Facebook, whatever it may be. But you've been through so much. Be easy on yourself. These are really great questions, by the way. Is there another one?
There is just one more thing, and Ron just wanted to share that his Phil wanted to say that he buried his mom 4 years ago today.
Phil wanted to say he buried his mom 4 years ago today. And Phil, as you know, 4 years probably feels like yesterday. And so it's going to be hard if you buried your mom 2 days before Thanksgiving. Every Thanksgiving is going to remind you of it. And just know those kind of things take a lot of time. For example, my mother died a few days after New Year's when I was 13 years old. It clouded New Year's for many, many years for me. Eventually, I became able to think sweet thoughts. And just when New Year's came around, I was able to go to parties and do things like everyone else. And was able to just say, and Mom, wherever you are, I'm wishing you a Happy New Year. So, Phil, right now, those Thanksgivings are going to be hard if your mom died so close to it. But just know in time, down the road, that's really the goal of grief, is to remember our loved ones who died in time with more love than pain, but at our own pace. Last question. Okay.
How do you deal with having nightmares?
How do you deal with having nightmares? So first of all, we have to be really careful what we put into our mind in the evening. If you watch the news before you go to sleep, if you are watching a violent show on TV, just know those things contribute. And the other thing is, it's good if you do have nightmares to talk to a counselor or a friend about what they are and sort of try to process them. And know that your nightmares aren't real and your nightmares aren't going to happen. They're just your mind trying to process things, many times that we haven't fully given permission to during the day. So process some of those during the day. And, have a plan. If I get a nightmare, I'm going to wake up. I'm going to reassure myself I'm okay. I'm going to calm myself down. I'm going to watch TV or pick up a favorite book. And, try in the evening to really watch some sweet, loving things that will put some gentle thoughts in your mind. Thank you for being with me. I'm David Kessler on behalf of Legacy.com and grief.com. Just know you may physically be alone during the holidays, or you may be with people who don't understand. But there are people who do understand. Legacy.com is here for you. Grief.com is here. And just know we're going to be thinking about you. And we hope you can find a little meaning in this Thanksgiving, even if the meaning is just sending love to your loved one who died. Thanks so much for being here. And we'll be doing another one of these before the other holidays. So if you have a question you didn't get a chance to ask, we'll be talking to you about that. Take care. I'm David Kessler. Bye-bye.